Hi everyone, and welcome to Creativity Reframed. Those of you who don't know, this is a series of really interesting conversations with global thought leaders, creative leaders and business leaders. Talk about the opportunities for creativity and problem solving global crisis has thrown us into. We've had an eclectic array of speakers on these sessions, none more so than today, where we're bringing in a completely different point of view and from the area of religion, faith and the church, which is really, really fascinating to me. So I've been very fortunate to get to know a chap called Jerry Sen, who joins me today from Toronto. Welcome, Jerry. Absolute
Thanks for
pleasure
having me, Don.
to have you there in your balmy hot weather in Toronto, from the kind of rather cloudy climes of Liverpool today. To kind of kick us off, really, Jerry, I thought it would be fantastic if you could share with the audience, really, what your role is, the directional leader for OneChurch.to.
Sure, Don. Thanks for having me. You know, it's been a journey for myself. I actually spent the last 20 years in the marketing world, worked for all different types of companies, digital, spent some time with Google, DoubleClick, and some big brands here in North America. And now moving into the church world, basically, as a directional leader for OneChurch.to. So my role is really to oversee a lot of our programs and our ministries that we offer for the people who live within Toronto. I oversee a team of people that involve pastors. They involve people who create programs for all types of people, kids, youth, seniors, all the way through. And you know, our goal is really to help people, you know, to what you said on a call we had earlier, market hope. And that's one of my big initiatives, is what we do in the city of Toronto.
Wow. And it's incredible, isn't it? Because we'd spent a bit of time together previously. And, you know, when one talks about purpose in marketing and purpose in brands, it's exactly that. You know, the space that you're in terms of marketing hope, and there is no better or bigger story than the one of faith. It's just
Correct.
such a powerful place to be, and such a fascinating, I find it a truly, genuinely fascinating fusion of where we bring digital and faith together. It just kind of makes my mind race, really. So with that kind of context in mind, Jerry, I'd just be kind of really interested here specifically how you've both personally and professionally found the whole experience of kind of working through COVID.
Yeah, you know, it's been an interesting season for the church. And I would say, you know, I grew up in a Christian household, you know, went to church my entire life. And really, church was almost somewhat defined as what you did on the weekend. It's a place that you went to. You know, when you got into that rhythm, you would see that, you know, oh, we go to church on Sunday and this is what we do. And when you see what happened with COVID, it kind of reframed everything for how a lot of people do church. And what I mean by that is churches had to change, because it wasn't necessarily about opening the doors on Sunday. It was a matter of, well, how do we connect with people every day,
Yeah.
7 days a week, at any given time, at any given moment? How are we helping and providing hope to these individuals, especially in the midst of one of the biggest pandemics we've ever seen? That really had to reframe how we think, both creatively, both pastorally, as we pastor people through these tough moments and tough times, and then also how we deploy our messaging. It had to change, and we had to literally overhaul everything we do in terms of, hey, our building is now closed, but our message is still very alive. And that really had to change, and we had to move to a completely digital environment. Even till now, you know, our churches are opened up to a 30% capacity, but over the last 3 months, our doors were closed. We went completely digital. All our services, what we call our services, our gatherings, all went to straight digital. And what we did is we actually started to create all of our programs that were physical programs. Hey, come in, and we're teaching kids or whatnot. All of it went to YouTube, Instagram, and live on our own website. It was a complete transformation for us. The good news is, you know, our teams have been quite digital for many years. We were almost ready for something like this in terms of our skill sets and our backgrounds. We're kind of ready for it, but we didn't expect something like this to happen.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Because it is almost that kind of crucible moment, isn't it? Where actually it's almost kind of what the repercussions for yourselves are in terms of, amidst obviously the absolutely terrible human circumstances that have happened around COVID, that kind of slightly more optimistic lens with which we can kind of see silver linings that we mightn't have ever expect kind of come through the other side. But I do think an important bit of what you've just talked about there, Jerry, is that you were kind of a progressive organisation to start with, so that therefore you were kind of on the front foot, I guess, relative to perhaps some other organisations, which is, taking our hat off to yourselves really in terms of being future ready, I guess. And in kind of almost kind of quantifiable terms, in terms of almost that opportunity around digitising your community, what impact has that had in terms of, has that enabled you to actually broaden your message, broaden your reach, increase your engagement when we think about this from a classic digital metrics point of view?
Yeah, it's transformed for us because the metrics that we always track are, how many people are coming to church on the weekend, and we would see, count physical bodies and so forth. When we move to a completely digital environment, we're tracking everything that a big brand, a marketing organization would be tracking. So we're tracking views, we're tracking engagements, we're tracking social media metrics, we're tracking everything to see, and our reach has gotten so much larger than where it was before, in terms of our gatherings and how many people are showing up, but also our social media reach. Our video views have gone up because really anyone has access to the content. Anyone, if someone is watching us locally and they send it to a family friend out in England, for example, anyone can jump on and be part of it. So our numbers actually, it's so interesting. Our numbers have gone up in almost every way, in terms of attendance, engagement, attention span, all of those key things that we would look at from a purely digital metric standpoint. Our metrics have gone upwards and to the right, which has been amazing. We're so happy to see that people are still engaging and participating in it. One of the biggest things that we've seen is sending the message to people on their own time and on their own agenda. So we know people are so busy and that they can watch the message whenever they want, essentially. And we see that has been huge for us in terms of reaching people. They could just watch it, hey, you don't have to be here at 10 a.m. On a Sunday. You could be in the comfort of your own home and watch it at 10 p.m., but you're still getting the content. And that's been really cool to see.
Yeah. And I guess as we're kind of slowly creeping through the other side of COVID, what do you think your kind of version of the new, and dare I say, a better normal might be? Will it probably be more of a blended physical digital model?
Yeah, we're basically going with the mentality of we're a digital first church with a physical location. We've seen the opportunity now. We knew it was there. Like our leadership team always knew that digital was an opportunity for us to share the good news, but not at this level. And now we're saying, okay, well, we can expand our reach digitally. We have a physical location. People will come here and we'll keep our programs running. But once they walk out of here, we see a huge amount of engagement opportunity through our mobile app, through all of our social channels, to keep that connectivity 5 to 7 days a week, so that the next time you come back in, hey, we're more engaged with you than ever before. And, it's this ongoing dialogue that I would say all churches are really starting to understand, that there's an opportunity to dialogue with people throughout the week and not having to literally wait till the weekend to kick off that conversation.
Yeah. And presumably you found that through much more of a digital deployment, I'm assuming has that enabled you to access different audiences and different types of people? Has it maybe kind of been an enabler, bring people back into faith, or is it more perhaps people that were still intrinsically connected to their faith, or has it actually brought some kind of lapsed people back in?
I think what we're seeing is a mix of all three. It's interesting. We work with a group called Alpha Canada, and really Alpha is about people who are exploring faith. They don't know where they want to be. They're asking questions. Really what churches do is they host Alpha, and people come in and they participate in an 8-week conversation about faith, basically. And what we've seen in the digital world is that is still going on, even though our doors are completely closed. We're seeing a huge demographic of younger people in their teens, low 20s, who are jumping into digital Alpha. They're jumping in because they're on their phone, they're at home, they feel comfortable doing it that way. And we're seeing that demographic come into Alpha, which is quite different than what we saw before. So it's interesting. Yeah.